Hey everyone, this is Isaac here, and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2022. In the realm of songwriters for films, two of the hottest names on the current market would be Ben Pasek and Justin Paul. Despite only writing songs for a handful of movies and stage shows, they've quickly rose the ranks with their music. And before I talk about their latest film, Lyle, Crocodile, let's look back at their other notable works to get a general idea of what we'll be in for. Starting off with La La Land, it's a pretty good movie. I like Damien Chazelle's direction, the two main actors were great, the production and set design was nice, and the musical numbers and choreography were excellent. So, it was definitely a good start for their major movie career. Next up, The Greatest Showman. It's fine, I guess. I really liked the costume design and some of the songs were good, but it was pretty historically inaccurate and was just kinda whatever overall. I'm not sure if this one should count, but Pasek and Paul did also do some work on the 2019 Aladdin remake, mainly in the form of providing additional song lyrics and writing a new song for the film. Yeah, it was there, I guess. Kinda like the rest of the movie. And now we come to my old nemesis, Dear Evan Hansen. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, since I already reviewed it for my 2021 season, and I ranked it as the #1 worst film of that year, but to sum it up, yeah, I think Dear Evan Hansen is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. The acting sucked, Ben Platt's casting was obvious nepotism, and his performance was hot garbage. His singing makes Cardi B sound like Michael Jackson. The direction, cinematography, and sets were all unremarkable, and the movie's portrayal of depression is on the same level as the wrist-slitting scene from Family Guy. But again, I don't really like to repeat myself. Maybe that's hypocritical of me to say, considering how much I've said stuff like DreamWorks fell off in the 2020s before making The Bad Guys, and Marvel has a fetish for inexperienced indie directors, but I digress. Anyways, here we are now with Pasek and Paul's latest film, Lyle, Crocodile. Based on a children's book series I've never read, which is interesting since my grandma said that the movie's plot reminded her of E.T., I thought the film looked decent enough, and I was mostly interested in the fact that it would mark as Shawn Mendes's acting debut. Well, sort of, since Lyle only communicates by singing, so maybe that's a better way for Mendes to make his debut, since when it comes to singers transitioning to actors, while some can make the transition work, others just kinda don't. But whatever, the movie's out now, I saw it, and what I think of it? Well, I thought it was pretty good. Nothing spectacular to be sure, but still good for what it was. So the movie, like a lot of other live-action animation hybrids, takes place in New York City, where a family known as the Prims recently moved into a house once owned by an eccentric showman named Hector P. Valenti. Soon enough, the Prims' son Josh discovers Valenti's former co-star Lyle living in their attic, and he also discovers that Lyle can communicate through song. I'm not sure why he can't communicate in any other way, since singing is basically like talking, except with scales and rhythm and all that jazz, but I'm also not sure why I'm questioning the logic of a movie meant for children. But anyways, once the Prims find out that Lyle isn't dangerous like crocodiles in real life are, they, especially Josh, would do whatever it takes to protect them from their mean neighbor and prove to the public that Lyle can be trusted despite being a crocodile. Okay, yeah, it's a pretty generic and formulaic story. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't read the books it was based on, so I can't really judge this as an adaptation like with other similar movies. But on its own, story-wise, it's nothing special. It's just a simple movie about not judging a book by its cover and the importance of family that also provides some weak pacing, a rather bloated runtime, forgettable humor, and the fact that I found Javier Bardem's character to be rather sleazy and unlikable. But that's not to say this movie was bad or anything. Those were just some minor gripes I had with it. Otherwise, I quite enjoyed it. And the standout element would have to be the songs from Pasek and Paul. The lyrics and flow are good, and Shawn Mendes's singing is great, not to mention the choreography is pretty solid, making for some very enjoyable musical numbers. Along with that, the animation for Lyle was actually pretty good despite how most hybrid movies tend to have really bad and uncanny CGI on the animated characters. There were plenty of heartwarming moments to go around, and the acting was pretty good. Heck, most of the characters were also pretty good. My personal favorite was definitely Miss Prim, but most of the other characters were likable and their actors gave some solid performances. I expected I wouldn't like the kid character Josh since I tend to hate child actors in movies, but Winslow Fegley surprised me by his performance, which was definitely like giving off the vibes of a weird and awkward kid, but in a way that felt charming and endearing, you know? So anyways, in conclusion, Lyle Crocodile isn't anything all that special, but for what it's worth, it was a pretty solid watch. It definitely fell short in the writing department with a played out and samey script, some weak pacing, and a runtime that feels a bit overboard for this film's otherwise simple premise and source material, but the songs were absolute bangers, the acting was decent, and it's clear that the movie's heart was in the right place. I'd say kids would most likely get a kick out of this, especially if they like pop music. For the parents, they might not be as impressed, but it wouldn't hurt to give it a watch if you don't have anything else to do. For my rating, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, and yet, it's still the second best Pasek and Paul movie to date. Next time, I'm gonna be reviewing Halloween Kills, if I can marathon the rest of the franchise fast enough, so I have sort of an idea of what to expect. I also would have been reviewing White Bird: A Wonder Story around this time, but for whatever reason, Lionsgate pulled it from their release schedule about 2 weeks before it was supposed to come out, and they haven't updated its release date, so hopefully we won't be left in the dark for too long. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Isaac Reviews 2022. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!